Hello, and welcome to Have At Us, Reviews for Your Pleasure. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Nietzsche.
This is episode 10, The Dangers of Owning a Cornfield. Today we are reviewing the 2002 movie Signs. This is a spoiler warning. We will talk about every scene, except for the last scene. As always, we do not talk about that scene.
As always, huh? You made that comment once, and you decided that it's now an as always comment?
Maybe from here on out.
You're just trying to start this tradition. The ending's the most important part of this movie, because it's such a letdown. It's so disappointing. Nobody likes the ending of this movie.
It is a pretty common complaint, from my understanding.
But do you like the ending of this movie?
I think
We're not going to talk about it.
As long as I don't talk about the last scene, it's fine, okay?
I already knew what you were going to say. We couldn't talk about that.
Oh, we can't talk about that?
You can talk about whatever you're going to say next, though.
Okay, I got you. Well, I think the ending is not great.
Not great is better than awful.
I don't think it's awful. There's aspects I like.
What do you like about the ending?
I like how it ties some of the plot points from earlier in the movie together. Not the water thing, but other things. Like his wife having like this premonition. Well, I don't know if I'd call it really her having a premonition, but using those words to kind of find a solution to the problem there at the end. I think that's pretty cool.
You know what makes the ending not good? That I feel like it resolved nothing. Just nothing. The aliens just left. They just moved on. They just said, oh, we lost. How sad. Somebody came out with a fire truck in one of those cities and just...
Maybe.
And they all died. And it was sad. But we don't know that because we didn't see anything. We just see random 4 people doing their thing in a farm where I feel like all farms probably have a gun on hand. And these people didn't have a gun. They didn't care. They had no weapons, basically, whatsoever.
Yeah, but he was a religious man, so maybe it wasn't something he was interested in. So he didn't have any. I could totally understand that.
Normally it's to, like, protect your crops and stuff.
What's going to happen to his crops? Nothing.
Lots of things happen. The dangers of owning a cornfield is aliens will draw navigation signs in them.
That only happens once every few hundred years. He didn't know.
He was supposed to be looking for the signs, though.
It was. He failed. I don't really have a problem with the weapons thing. I agree that them just disappearing is, like, okay. It's very weird. Clearly they didn't really know how to resolve the problem in a way that would make sense. And I understand, like, the movie is from the family's perspective. They're not going to know everything that happened around the world. I don't think we need to see everything that happens around the world. So I don't have a problem with not having all the answers. They're listening to the radio or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, they disappeared for some reason. That's pretty convenient, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Great. I was like, okay. That's a little silly.
It's a worse version of War of the World, is what it really is. It's just a worse version of War of the World.
The ending? What's the ending in? Oh.
Well, in the book, at least. I don't know how anything ends in any fictitious, stupid version that probably is highly inaccurate of this book.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the real life events.
I don't even understand what you're trying to reference.
Well, you were saying that these other things are fictitious.
Yeah, because they're probably bad. That's why. They're just like made up nonsense that carries the name War of the Worlds with it is what I think. I don't know that. I haven't seen any adaptations in a movie format.
I've only seen the Tom Cruise version adaptation.
But you've never read the book, so it doesn't help us.
I have not. I know how the movie ends, though.
How's the movie end?
The aliens can't breathe our air.
They at least die, right? I appreciate that they die, right? They had some, like, weird miscalculation and now they're dead. But I don't even see an alien die in this film. Not one. Not a singular alien.
We see one alien die.
No. At the end, you don't see that alien die. You are in the perspective of the alien. You don't see the alien die.
You see the reflection on the TV right next to his corpse of it stop breathing.
I'm not using the television as a mirror.
Okay, well, that's what the movie's doing.
Maybe the movie needs to have some better screen direction then.
I think that's a pretty good screen direction. It's better than just showing the body of the alien.
Well, I'd rather just see it die instead of feeling like you copped out.
No, I like how they did it. I actually think they should have showed less of the alien at the end. I think it should have all been through the reflection. I think it would have been cooler.
Then you would have actually sat there on the reflection. Like, zoom in on the TV and do it that way. I feel like we had, like, a zoomed out, and then there was the television, and I was supposed to look at the television. But I don't remember.
It was not that zoomed out. It was pretty clearly there.
I mean, I was ready for this film to be over basically, like, 5 minutes in. I was pretty disinterested. The best part of that film is the dog dying.
Why is that?
It's the best part because we killed a dog, one, right? We broke a rule in a lot of movies where you can't kill the dog. No, you can definitely kill the dog, right? But then the kid had to kill his own dog. And I was like, man, that's a hard decision for you to make as a kid. And he was all torn up, and I was like, yeah, that's a believable scene.
Yeah, it took a
I would have rather seen him kill the dog.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of this, like, we're not going to see that, don't worry. We can't see anything in this film. We can see this alien right at the very end. It looks god-awful.
It is from 2002.
Yeah, you could get a suit and dress someone up in a suit that looks better than your weird animation of garbage. Looks like a sewer monster.
It's not the best looking alien. It's partly why I think if it had been entirely in the reflection, it would have been better. Because I think it's fine from the reflection point of view, because you're not meant to see it perfectly in that.
Yeah, but I'd already seen part of the alien, which had already started to ruin some things anyway.
Oh, I don't think it's ever a problem until they're in the living room.
No. I don't think it looks bad until the living room. But the aliens have, like, claws. Like, pretty lengthy, like, animalistic claws for fingernails. And they can't, like, do anything? They can't scratch through some wood? For real? For real. Doors pose a problem?
Doors are pretty complicated.
You know, the wood is a massive problem, but then it's magically not at the end, because he clearly breaks through the boards. And I was just like, I don't understand why you just broke the whole premise of your movie.
What boards did they break?
It shows the window next to the bat. That window is broken, and so it's clearly the window that the alien came in through. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. They sat there on it.
I was looking at the characters.
There's no characters in that.
I don't know what we're talking about then.
It's just the window right where you grab the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's broken.
Okay.
And the boards are broken.
Okay. Well, he was tenacious.
I mean, it implies that it's the same alien that he cut the fingers off of, I guess.
Yeah.
I wasn't really positive because I didn't really feel like I could tell that those fingers were gone or if they were just curled in. I was like, okay.
Well, they then show a flashback scene.
I agree. They make their case with the flashback, but I was still like, okay, I guess this how did it get out? Oh, I don't know that either? Oh, great. Do I know anything? Except that aliens came down and then you guys lived and you killed an alien and your kid gets to live.
Like I said, it's from their perspective, so they wouldn't have the answers of how this thing escaped. Maybe it was helped, who knows? But I don't really have a problem with that. I don't even know the answers to all that. I don't think that's important.
It'd be more exciting. It'd give me something to actually look at or see. I was just so bored.
Well, boredom is what I thought you would feel about this movie.
I just didn't understand. And then you had the weird, like, subplot of, like, him, like, you know, struggling with his faith, I guess. But that's never really resolved.
See, this is where I don't understand. How is the last scene not pretty clear?
What do you mean, how is that clear?
Oh, wait, we can't talk about the last scene, crap.
Uh-huh, yeah, real funny.
No, because he comes out of the room with his, church get up. What do you call those? I'm sure there's a term.
I don't know. Yeah, but that doesn't tell me that his faith is restored. That just tells me he went back. I have no inner dialogue. I have nothing of him working through this issue.
Okay.
Right? That's my deal, and I understand that they like the idea of like, oh, we showed it to you, so he must be all better. But that's boring. That's not exciting. That doesn't tell me anything except that he works at the church now.
Most people like show, not tell. But that's not really relevant. My actual point is that there's the scene where he's having the flashback where he's actually talking to his wife. And he remembers what she said, and you see her last words about swinging away with the bat and all of that. And then it has him say, swing away, right? And they had the previous conversation about these things being luck or a sign, right? And so at that moment, he realizes that that was actually a sign for the future. And then he uses that information to defeat the alien, thus restoring his faith.
Whew. That's a lot of leaps.
I don't think there's any leaps. I think that's pretty clear.
Like, I feel like those are some rocks in the ocean that are miles apart. And I see how we got there, and I understand when you phrase it and all this nonsense that is what I was supposed to get from this film, but it's not good enough for me, even still.
It was good enough for me.
Nah. I needed to see him actually struggle with this. Like,
Struggle with what part?
with restoring his faith. Like, get some actual, like, scenes that lead up to him going back into the church and taking his job back or something. Or maybe while we see him getting ready, he's got his own little monologue thing happening of, like, how he actually, came to this point again. There's too much, like, the switch was off and now the switch is on with his faith, right? His wife died, the light switch is off. I guess in this whole weird end scene, the light switch is now back on.
Yeah, I don't really have much of a problem. We see him having struggles in other areas in the movie, like at the dinner scene or when he's talking to his brother. We know that he doesn't want people referring to him as father anymore, even though it's clearly like a pretty big habit through this small town. I feel like it shows it pretty well, and then at the end, I feel like I understood everything. Like I think it's pretty clear. I think adding more would have been too little. Or not too little. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Would have been too much.
Would have been too much. No, it would have given me something to actually care about. Like, that was the only interesting, like, subplot thing. And then we did basically nothing with it. You can't rely solely on show. And this whole film just relies on show. I will never tell you anything because I put a scene here. You have more tools in your toolkit. Use them.
I don't know. I feel like a common thing with you is that you like telling over showing.
I'm fine if you want to show in a super explicit fashion, or a fashion that I understood. But if I miss it because I'm not engaged, you failed.
Well, that's just
right?
you not
Because
being engaged.
All you did was sit there and show and show and show, and you never did anything. Like, I never had any point where you used another tool to help me along. You can't just pick one audience and one person and decide that that's how you're going to do your movie.
You can.
Yeah, and then it becomes a spectacular failure. I mean, some people seem to like this. I don't know how successful this was.
It's pretty mixed. I think it made its money back. I don't think it was like a bomb or anything. But reception, I think, is pretty mixed, which I can completely understand. There's definitely some problems with this movie.
Like the whole film.
I don't think the whole film. I actually think the film does a lot of things really well.
What's one thing? What's the best thing it does?
The atmosphere.
The atmosphere. What do we mean by atmosphere here?
I think part of it is the film gradient. The colors in the film, I think, work really well. I think like location is really well. A lot of the effects, not like special effects, but like sound effects, I suppose, and some of the visual effects that are employed in the movie, I think, work really well. So the movie starts off in a pretty, like, it gets to it pretty fast. And like, what the heck's going on? He's up, brushing his teeth, whatever. He hears a scream. He runs out, goes to the cornfield. We see the first crop sign. And so we're immediately there. It doesn't take long before the dogs start acting weird. Maybe they're already acting weird at that point. And then we kill the dog. We start hearing weird things happening other places. Like, the ambience of everything is quick to get into it. And I feel like it holds that tone pretty well through the film. Even though I think the ending doesn't really work on a plot standpoint very well. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of problems with it. I don't think it does a bad job in, like, its scenario or mood setting.
Sometimes it handles mood setting great. About half the time. On the other half of the time, it's just kind of whatever. Or it sucks. So, the visuals of it were whatever. They were fine. You're in a house. I'm always going to be bothered that it seems really weird that you didn't explain where these boards come from, or like why you have no weapons of any kind. You didn't grab a kitchen knife, nothing. You didn't take the hammer with you that you were just using. No. We have zero preparedness, even though you seemingly have spent the whole day prepared. Really?
I'm not that bothered by it. I think they would try to find, like, you have a whole barn over there. I imagine you have a hatchet of some kind in there, and you block the door with
a pickaxe.
That would probably be pretty useful.
Called something different, but yeah.
Whatever it is, that would probably be pretty useful. So I do think, yeah, they could have used a weapon. That would have made sense. But I get that they wanted to use the bat to tie things in. It's more of a thematic resolution.
Then you should have done more with the bat. I don't know, you got your weird scenes where you're trying to point that the bat's cool, but I didn't care. This film never made me care about anything at any point. There's nothing to it. Like, I'm not interested. I don't feel like you handled the aliens very interestingly.
I think the aliens are handled fine until the end. I actually think some of it's pretty cool. I like the first moment where they go out chasing what they think is like this troublemaker, and it gets away pretty easily, and it like rustles the cornfield, and they're like, what the heck? Like, I feel like it's pretty good at setting the suspense of what these things are. And like, obviously the viewers know it's an alien. We get it. But I think it does a pretty good job of it.
No, I'm not interested in the aliens. I don't feel like they're threatening in any fashion at any point. Ever. Because you do the weird deal of like, oh, they can't get their doors, and like, Ray over there just like captures one into his, pantry pretty easily. Like, and then this thing like kind of just lashes out and gets his fingers cut off. Like, doesn't feel threatening. I'm not threatened by any of it. I understand why they're threatened, but their emotions don't affect me. Right? I'm not feeling fear because they're afraid.
Sure, I mean, that's fair. I agree that they don't come across as very threatening. And I think they try to, like, justify that a little bit by, like, oh, it's a scouting party. They wouldn't be trying to attack immediately kind of thing. I don't know that that's a great excuse, but it's something.
Yeah, but then we decide later that this is a full-on hostile invasion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they weren't threatening then either.
Yeah, well.
They're just lights. A bird gets hit and killed. I feel more sad for the bird than I do everything else in this film.
That bird got fucked.
That bird got screwed over for no reason. That bird was just living its life. And the aliens killed it. Unintentionally.
I agree. They don't come across as that threatening. Especially, like, wouldn't these things have weapons? Also, like, they're gonna use hand-to-hand combat. They also don't seem particularly skilled with it. I mean, they're a pretty underwhelming invasion force. And they leave immediately after losing immediately. So that's kind of a problem. They kind of suck.
Yeah, it just feels like this film was inspired by War of the Worlds, and they wanted to make it like a relevant modern time War of the Worlds type thing. But then they failed in every category. And I'm not going to defend like War of the Worlds as a book as being like the greatest, thing ever. You can talk about something that's really boring and slow for like a long time. That is it. It takes a long time for aliens to, like, actually, do anything. And then they do things, though, and they, like, raise the countryside. And then they all die out because they were idiots, I guess. But I'm more engaged in that. They felt like a threatening force.
Yeah, but that's on a scale... Well, I really shouldn't try to speak with any authority on the matter. I have not read this book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. I don't really know how that's all presented. I'm not really that interested in it either.
Irrelevant. M. Night Shyamalan did not do justice if that's what he was trying to do. If that's what he was inspired by, and I feel like he had to have been fairly inspired by it.
On some level, I'm sure.
Because it kind of takes the basic, format of it.
I do not know if it was inspired by War of the Worlds. A lot of things are inspired, at least in some distant way, from War of the Worlds. It's a pretty influential book. So, in some level, it probably does influence the movie. Do I think it's trying to, rip it off? Not really. Alien invasion is a common enough theme. Independence Day, right? Really not trying to rip off War of the Worlds. Maybe it is, and I just didn't know that, but I doubt it. But I feel like the aliens are a device for the family to have their story. I think they're just an atmospheric use. I don't really think that they're the important part of the movie.
Then why do we spend so long with them?
Because that's the device. And it's what's important to get the family to kind of reconcile with the past and where they are and come together. That I think is the ultimate theme of the movie and is what's important. Because otherwise you would probably want to spend more time. Why are the aliens here? How did they lose? Why did they come to this planet with water? How fast did they learn that water was bad?
I just feel like if you're going to tell me there's a scouting party, the scouting party didn't figure this out at some point. Sent multiple scouting parties.
This was
a
their...
lot of them.
This was their,
no water anywhere. You weren't in the cornfields and then the sprinklers turned on? Oh, this is unpleasant. Wow, how bad. It's just okay.
These are the really dumb aliens they sent out, alright? This is their, you have an A team and a B team. This is their Z team.
Okay, you can be the Z team, but when Z team doesn't come back because they died from a sprinkler... You think, oh, something went wrong. I'm going to send the W team. We moved up a few ranks here.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
If they had just invaded and then they found out, oh man, water's bad, I would take that, right? If we didn't take all this effort to all the new stuff and oh man, blah blah blah. Like, why'd you do all the effort for it? And then go, yeah, here's our cop-out.
Yeah, like I said, I think they really didn't have a good way to end this. They seemed a little lost on what to do, but as I said, I also think it's more of a thematic resolution.
You know what would have made more sense as a resolution for the family? If they were all eating dinner and then they said a prayer. You ended the movie.
That would have been good.
That would have been an immaculate ending.
That would have been good.
I thought they were going to end it that way, actually, and then they didn't.
Ah.
And so I was disappointed. Like, you put all this effort into this, dinner scene.
I like the lead up to that scene where he's asking what they want for dinner. And it's clearly him being like, what would you want as your final meal? Because he thinks they're all going to die. I think that's actually a pretty nice touch.
It's fine. I wasn't that interested in it. I think the dinner scene in of itself is interesting. He just, flips out. And I feel like that was really well acted. Like, I feel like he had acted it really well up to that point and kind of held it together pretty well. And then he couldn't do it anymore and he flipped out. And I feel like that worked pretty well.
Nanicha, what would you want as your final meal before aliens come to kill you? Bananas? Cheez-Its? Toaster pastries?
Why you gotta be such a jerk about all the things that are life-building blocks?
A block of cheese?
I mean, we know that the 3 basic food groups are Cheez-It, toaster pastries, and or Pop-Tarts if you're confused by that, because some people get confused when you say toaster pastry and cheese. So I get some toaster pastries, and then I get some macaroni and cheese that I have made, which is grand. Okay. With all the blue cheese wonderfulness in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hear your wonderful meal here. This better be good. You asked this question, so you better have a great answer.
Well, I agree that a burger is a pretty good choice. Bacon sucks, but a burger is a great choice. Chicken teriyaki is also not bad. Sushi is also pretty good.
Sushi is good, but I'm always going to be wary if I'm still on my dietary restriction and maybe I live, and then I feel like I just cheapened out at the end for no reason. Like, I failed right at the end, right? Kind of like this movie. That's what that would be like.
Yeah.
So this movie failed way before the end.
But yeah, no, I think a burger's a solid choice. Like, that's just a classic meal. Write in, tell us what your final meal before you were killed by aliens would be. I'm not talking like you're about to be executed because you're a prisoner. No. Aliens are about to kill you. What do you eat?
I feel like Death Row and Aliens is basically going to be the same thing here, isn't it? The end result's the same. You're dying. One is just, a political issue, and the other one's not.
Well, the other way is like, you have a lot of time to think about it, right? Aliens are invaded, and you see them in the sky, you're like, God, I got time for one more meal.
That depends if you believe this, right? There's a lot of skeptics.
There are some skeptics.
I'll be the skeptic over here. Like, there's some lights, okay.
They would be coming, dropping bombs on us. You'd be like...
It's the government. I believe it's the government.
Yeah, they get out. There's these alien-looking creatures. You're like, they're just wearing a suit.
I probably am. I am probably the skeptic to the very bitter end. Aliens is not something that I feel like makes a lot of sense. Like, we've spent trillions of dollars searching for aliens, and they have somehow evaded all our, searching and made it to the planet because they're so cool just to come to the planet, take people up, put them back, make some crop circles.
The circles are important.
Yeah, they're gone now.
Yeah, I think we need to bring them back. But, acting. I think the acting in this movie is pretty solid. In particular, you have 2 child characters that are pretty young, and I think they do a pretty swell job.
Lies. One of them does a great job, and the other one is serviceable. He is a child actor. Good old Morgan, whatever his actual actor's name is.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine.
Morgan is Rory Culkin.
You're looking at me like I should know who that is.
Well, I thought you might recognize the last name.
No.
Culkin, his older brother is Home Alone.
Okay, well, I try to forget those films because they're god-awful. Yeah, they suck. Anyway, maybe we need to watch some of those. If you want us to watch those and hear me hate more than I'm probably hating now, you write that in. You make sure. If you gain a lot of joy from my hatred, you will gain a substantial amount of joy from Home Alone.
1 or 2?
I feel like if you recommend it, I feel like you gotta watch both.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so if you recommend it, we'll watch both. I've executively decided. No discussion really here. Executive decision.
Okay.
But he is fine. Good old Rory McCulkin, or whatever, is fine. I don't think he's bad. He serves his purpose. Look, but I'm never impressed by his child acting. The girl, Bo, or whatever, she's great. I really believed she was like a child going through this. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think she does a really good job of being like, okay, this is a kid. I don't feel like she's actually an adult in a child's body, which sometimes I feel like with children. But this character really felt like a kid that was kind of scared, but didn't really comprehend everything, so that the terror wasn't like really deep. I don't know. I think it's pretty well. In general, I think if your kid acting is not bad, then it's good when it comes to kids. Like, there's a lot of really bad children. That's one of the main reasons why they don't like having children in movies. It's really hard to get actors for it.
My child, she'll be an actress.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. I mean, I guess I don't really know a lot of child actors is my problem here. Like, I can't think of a lot of children actors that are just, like, so bad. Like, I think of, like, School of Rock or whatever, and they're all pretty decent except Miranda Cosgrove, who's, like, grand.
I think of Shane.
Shane. You act like I remember this movie.
I, for some reason, am cursed with remembering this movie. And it's bad. God, that movie is. Well, the book is also just... Why did I have to read this?
It was important, okay?
It wasn't. Stupid.
But,
treat.
yeah, I don't know any other child actors. Like, there's, like, the prequel trilogy for Star Wars, and I only, saw the episode 1 semi-recently, so I can only really remember that one very well. And he's fine. He's not a terrible child actor. We don't have to watch him to discussion about how people ruined his life. That happened. Moving on. But these kids are fine. Like, they're serviceable, and they work really well, but Morgan is only that. Whereas Bo, like, the writing for her is pretty good, and she asks, like, normal questions and acts like a child.
I like the scene where she, like, wakes up her dad.
That's really funny.
There's a monster outside. A drink of water.
Just in the most, like, this is the most normal thing I would say. I think there's a monster. I also really need a glass of water. like I need you to come deal with my need of fear that's happening, and I'm thirsty.
It's pretty funny.
Because I'm like 4, and I just blurt anything and everything out. Yeah, I thought that was really funny. She's like picky about the water, which I feel like is just a child thing. Children have weird quirks about things. Like, no, bro, I'm a child. That's what they all sound like, by the way. That's also the imitation voice for everybody, so.
Yeah, we're all children, so.
We're a bunch of idiot children. Not even like an intelligent Korean child.
Right.
Yeah. But the Mel Gibson is good. I don't know that I've seen Mel Gibson in anything else. Like, I know of him, and I could, like, pick him out of a lineup.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I've ever seen him in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I haven't seen a lot of his movies either.
But his acting was good. He was believable. But then you get to his brother. What's his face?
Meryl?
Yeah. Not great. I did not like Meryl's acting. I just didn't think it was very believable. I didn't feel like they were brothers. But I didn't feel like that was Mel Gibson's fault. I felt like that was on Walking Phoenix here. Like, it just felt like he acted more like an older child of Mel Gibson than he did like his brother.
I could definitely understand that. He does act like a younger person. I'm not really sure how old he's supposed to be. Like, clearly, there's a age discrepancy between the two. And it seems like it'd be significant, because Mel Gibson looks like he's old, or older, and Walking Phoenix looks pretty young in this movie. I don't have a problem with him. I think he's the weakest of the 4, but I don't think he does a bad job. I think the weirdest acting job was the, army recruiter guy.
Oh, that was supposed to be weird. I feel like that was fine.
That guy was really, I wasn't really sure what we were going with there.
He was just supposed to be weird. That's how I took it.
He was weird.
Like, I feel like that was just supposed to be a weird scene. Why were we in the army recruiter's office? Why is this, apparently cool-looking army person telling you, like, seemingly things that might be government-tied secret type things? I don't know. The scene was questionable. His performance was not.
Maybe my problem is just with the scene. I don't know. I think that's a weird moment.
The scene is also weird because I feel like I saw the tables and there was no one there. And then, Lionel Wolfington or whatever, I feel like that was his name.
What a good name.
Was there. Now, I don't know that that's true. It's probably not. But I felt like I saw the whole room and there was nobody there. And then there he was. And he's just filling out paperwork like he's been there for hours, just filling out the government packet, signing away your life to the government. I don't know.
I don't remember the scene well enough to know. It's a weird scene. Gibson at the pharmacy, I think, is kind of funny. But I definitely think, like, why did he go to the recruiter's office in the first place? Are you trying to join the army? You never brought that up before or after. So I don't really know.
Yeah, he also looks at the pamphlet later.
Yeah.
He's sitting there reading through it when Mel Gibson comes back in from encountering the alien out in the cornfield. The kids are doing dishes.
Is that what he was reading?
He's reading the pamphlet.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
And then, yeah, good old... I don't actually know Mel Gibson's character's name, except Father.
Graham.
Graham, there you go, yeah.
I also liked the policewoman.
She's great. I liked her.
Yeah.
I wanted more with this woman. She could have came back and checked on them.
Killed her off.
You could have killed her. I didn't care. No, I mean, like, the end, after they've solved everything, she, like, comes by and is like, hey...
You guys alright?
Just making sure, like, 'cause she's, the local sheriff lady and...
Yeah.
Doing good things. I don't know. There's a lot of things I feel like you could have done. Yeah. And you didn't do most of them.
Yeah, that could have been cool. I think she was a cool character.
She's a good actress.
Yeah,
I feel like that was a really believable, like, you're a small town cop. Yeah. You've been doing it for 20 years. And I just believed her. I was like, yep.
Yeah, no, she does do a really good performance there. She seems like somebody who, like, she knows the town, knows the people, cares, knows her job pretty well, actually. When Joaquin Phoenix is, being sarcastic, she's like, I don't appreciate that.
But his sarcasm was not delivered like sarcasm to me. It was just so, like... It seemed like you thought you were being kind of funny and clever, but you really didn't believe you were actually being that. And you just kind of half-heartedly said the line that was written for you. And I wasn't a fan. Her performance, yeah, was good. But then, you don't have anybody, you have Ray, I guess.
Played by M. Night himself.
Yeah, nobody cares about him. Okay, nobody cares that M. Night Shyamalan directed this, or whatever. He wrote, produced, and directed it.
Yeah, the big three.
He is the coolest person ever, I guess. I didn't really think that was great, like, tying Ray back in.
The detail that I like is that at the beginning of the movie, the dog pees on the floor, and Graham is like, okay, we'll bring it to whatever the doctor's name is. And the kid is like, well, that's not the veterinarian. He won't know what to do. And he's like, well, he'll know well enough. And then, so you're like, okay, do they not have a vet? But then when we go to Ray's house, we see that the sign on his mailbox is veterinarian. And so you go, that's why he wouldn't want to bring it to the veterinarian, because he doesn't want to confront this guy. I think that's a pretty cool detail.
That's fine. I noticed the veterinarian thing, but I had already forgotten about that whole scene. Like, I didn't put it together, because I had already stopped caring. But I stopped caring pretty quickly. So I probably stopped caring shortly after the dog died. I had already been like, this isn't going anywhere good, is it? No, it's not. Whoa. But there's no other really actors that are important, right?
No, just small cast.
Yes, that's all your characters. Story sucks. With one great scene, the aliens suck. They got defeated.
Well, I think there are a couple of scenes that I think are actually... Well, I think the dog scene is actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
The other scene that I think is really good is when they are watching the news in the, like, closet, and it's the Brazilian boy, which is his character name in the credits, Brazilian boy or whatever.
Well, in the credits, it just says, like, Brazilian boy, and then there's just, whoever was the actor for that. But it's like a child's birthday party, and there's all these children.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand which child we were talking about, or, like...
Probably the one who spoke.
I thought there was a female child who spoke, too, wasn't there? I didn't see Brazilian girl in there.
I don't know.
Anyway, irrelevant. The scene where they capture the alien and you see it for the first time.
Well, they don't capture it. I'm talking about the actual film.
Yeah, they capture it on film.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we were talking about the pantry scene.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, we are talking about the same scene.
Yeah.
We're just confused.
Okay. Yeah, that scene. I think that's a really cool scene. Now, when I was a child, this is a movie I saw in theaters. That really scared me. It scared me a lot. This movie was pretty scary as a kid.
I could see that because their sound effects are decent sometimes, and so you could really mood set that and get a child engaged and scare them. I was really disappointed with that scene because we have talked about that scene. It's a really good scene, and
yeah,
I really like it. And I was all ready for this to be a great scene. I was like, oh, we're finally here. And I was a little more engaged, and then it was a disappointment. I was just like, oh, look, it's the Yeti. It's the green Yeti. Because the pose and everything makes it look like a Bigfoot sighting. Oh, wow.
What's so good about it is the camouflage element of like you got that moment before like, okay, when is this thing gonna show up? And then the way it shows up as having like been part of the bush, I think it's really good. I think it's really atmospheric. I think it's really cool. Them being like in the closet, like it's this like scary thing that they're like hiding the watch. Like I think the whole scene just sets it up really well. I think it's really cool.
All I'm hearing from you right now is that you enjoy telling lies. You just keep telling lies about this film. I enjoyed this. It was good. You don't have to lie. You can say this film sucked. It's okay. I will only like you slightly better if you say that this film sucked.
I'm not going to say that. I also think them, or I guess it's just Gibson, in the cornfield at night with the flashlight. That's a really cool scene because it takes a while where he's out there and he's like, okay, something's out here. And then you finally see just the leg. I think that's really cool. I think that's the first, like, time you actually see it.
Isn't that after the pantry scene?
No.
Or was that before?
That's before.
Oh, okay.
And that's a really cool scene. The pantry scene really scared me as a kid. Oh, man. That was scary. Now, I watch it now and I'm like, why was I scared of this stupid scene? Not that I think the scene is stupid, but I'm telling my kid self it's stupid. It's not that scary. But when I was a kid, it was really effective.
Once he got back down, I was like, oh, something's going to happen, great.
Yeah,
I wanted
obvious.
him to open the pantry and have a real confrontation with it.
But that would have been an unbelievable action. Like, there's no way he would do that.
Why?
Because he's clearly nervous and, like, he doesn't fully believe. Like, I think part of him is like, this isn't real.
That's why he opens it.
No, but there's enough there that's, like, questioning it. Like, what if this is real? Like, he's clearly a little, like, scared. And so he doesn't want to just open this thing. Like, no way. I think that it makes way more sense that he would just try to get a peek.
He did try to get a peek, and then he came back down.
Yeah.
If you're that curious, you open the door.
No, I think it's a cool scene. Again, it was really scary. The other scene that really scared me as a kid was when they're in the basement and the hand grabs Morgan.
Again, another scene where I was like, oh, this could be... Oh, they dropped the flashlight and now we're seeing it from this weird perspective, which means I'm seeing nothing.
I think just the little moment is more effective.
No, I was less engaged. And then he, like, conveniently forgot his medicine, even though it's always in his pocket. Okay, great. This kid has asthma. He's gonna die. If he had died at the end, I would have been happier with that.
I know you would have.
It would have just set the dark tone. And then he could have had, like, a deal where he still has to reconcile with his faith. He has to reconcile with God. And I think that would have been way more effective to have to come to terms with that.
It could work. I don't think that's what they wanted, though.
I don't know what they wanted, because I feel like it was rather unclear, and I don't feel like they exactly knew what they wanted either. I guess there's not really a they. There's really just M. Night Shyamalan.
He's the mastermind.
He made all the decisions, basically, at the top, so...
But no, I still think there's definitely some good scenes. Like I mentioned before, the scene where they're chasing the guy, what they think is a guy. I think that's a really funny scene.
It's funny. It's not as believable as I feel like it would be. Like, I don't know, you're bad at cursing. I feel like when you're that old, you know basic forms of cursing. You don't have to be creative with it, but you know how to curse like a normal human being. You can be uncomfortable with it. Like, if he had just said normal things and been entirely uncomfortable the whole time, I would have been fine. But I also didn't, like, at that point we hadn't fully set up, like, oh, you used to be a part of, the church. You were the head of the church. I feel like the father thing came across as like a joke the whole time.
Really?
Yeah. Like, up until I realized it wasn't. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Nah, I already know that. I don't really know how clear that would have been. Like, I've just known that as a fact, so I can't really say whether that was clear or not.
Like, it's clearly a small town, and I'm like, oh, maybe she's just, giving him, a little ribbing, because, he's like, the person who has to deal with helping people. Or something, right? And she's the only person who said it up to that point. And she's kind of nice and endearing, and she could have that kind of relationship, right? I don't know. I wasn't believing it.
Okay.
Because the father is very much like a Catholic thing.
Yeah.
So
I'd assume he's Catholic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, any other great scenes in your world? I feel like you've said like all the scenes were great at this point. It was all
every scene
great. I really liked everything that this movie did.
Every second, dude. Just every second.
Yeah, the opening credits where you had the weird suspenseful music so I could watch credits.
That is a little weird.
That was great, too. I was really loving that.
Yeah, it's a weird opening, but whatever. I think I've said my piece.
There's also the baby monitor stuff where they're like clearly talking to each other. And so they have some level of communication with their reconnaissance team or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really stupid. Why did you have that and then just not build up on any of it? Like, you bring the baby monitor back, which I feel like is fine.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, never stood out to me. I guess I like the tinfoil hats. That's pretty funny.
I like that they forget their hats. Like, oh, we forgot our hats. And they're just, like, flipping out. No, that was kind of funny. And then we go to, like, oh, the light bulb broke. Oh, yeah, it would. Because you wanted to kind of be a horror movie. You took, like, pretty standard horror-esque things. But you didn't really commit to being horror. You didn't really commit to being suspenseful either. You didn't commit to anything. You just kind of hodgepodged it together. You're like, War of the Worlds has some good ideas. Horror has some good ideas. Suspense has some good ideas. Family drama weirdness, we can pull that in here. Yeah, I'm M. Night Shyamalan. Woo! That's what happened.
Yeah, I think that's actually a direct quote from him.
Yeah, it probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
You look that up on the internet. It's probably the top M. Night Shyamalan quote right there.
Yeah.
It also has the woo in there.
Yeah, of course.
Because he's kind of conceited and thinks he's the coolest person ever. I've already decided. The only film I've seen from him. And I've decided for him that he thinks he's the coolest person ever.
If you've enjoyed this episode, you can put some crop signs of your own. Particularly, take our logo, put that out in some cornfields, make it happen, tell the world.
You can listen to another episode while you're doing it.
That's true. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Well, you need to bring some friends with you.
Yeah, probably.
If you don't have friends, you got to comment down here and get some friends.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
I don't know that we're your friends. We don't know you well enough yet.
But if you comment enough, maybe we can be friends.
Maybe.
If you bring a bunch of people to watch or to listen to this show, we can be friends.
True.
Because it's all about my success. No, Josh is not included in my success here.
No.
Just me. I just need you guys to help me out here by spreading the word about how bad this film is. But yeah, if you don't do the crop circle, then you definitely need to, do all of the other, like, subscribe, whatever. Everything else that you're supposed to do that everybody else says. You gotta do those things if you don't do the crop circle. That's how it works. You signed that contract when you started this episode. Even if you're just here in the end right here. That's...
It's too late. You've already heard it. You already
That's where it is. What are you giving this?
A 7.
I'm giving this a 5 out of 10.
Have at us.